Hey kids, it's Justin James. Interesting things looking at Plateosaurus. So there's a lot to unpack. So first and foremost, I want to point out with Plateosaurus. The name Plateosaurus means flat lizard. It was first named in 1837, and the unfortunate thing was it's the weird thing I guess. It's the fifth dinosaur named whose name is still valid. But when they coined when Sir Richard Owen coined the term dinosaur, uh, there weren't enough remains to understand if it was a dinosaur or not. So it's kind of like it's kind of this thing that it's it's like the B team penalty. Like people know T Rex, Triceratops, all those guys, Brachiosaurus, Velociraptor. Plateosaurus is one of those like B team dinosaurs. Like no one really kind of knows it, but they kind of know. Like you've seen it in Walking with Dinosaurs. You've seen toys of it definitely, but it's not really known that well. And my best guess to why is because this animal, the term commonly used is prosauropod. So sauropodomorph, meaning lizard foot form, are the commonly called long necks. And so the term that is often used is prosauropod for these guys because they're often found in the late Triassic, some in the early Jurassic, and so it's believed initially that these guys or animals like them led to the sauropods, right? And so even on my website until recently, if not by the time this video goes up, at least I'll be changing it pretty soon. So the term prosauropod is no longer considered like a valid term to use. It is often called a platysaurid sauropodomorph because the way it's like we look at the animal and say, well, even though it is where it is in the fossil record, we don't appreciate where it stands. Our question is, where did it lead to? But I was going to kind of like reiterate the fact that we want to look at this animal as, at the time it lived in the late Triassic period in what's now Europe, this animal was like one of the largest animals on Earth. It's really, really huge. And so that it's not, because we're in the modern time looking back, we're saying, well, where does it fit in the family tree? But remember, when it showed up, it was this really great advanced thing. My only analogy is how you look at a car like a Camaro from the 60s, and you're like, oh, that's old and beaten up. But remember, in the 60s, it was the newest, coolest car kind of thing, right? Anyway, so same rules apply, oldest to newest models. Not so much when I bought them. I actually got this one first. Actually, this one first, then this one. And then the rest are mainly eBay and like one store and one shop. But as far as timeline goes, so the earliest Plateosaurus specimen, oh, and this video is dedicated to my first subscriber, Jim Connor. Thank you for being awesome and being supportive. Now, that being said, the first one we have here is a Marx figure. So Marx are some of the oldest dinosaur toys that people may know of, which is weird because kids today see them. Kids today, they see them and they go like, oh, those are not really good models. But remember, back when they made them, this was what we, like, if you learn nothing from my channel, we're seeing different time frames. And each figure depicts the time frame of its creation. So at the time, looking at this animal, you know, their arms are have to go legs. So it's often called a tripodal stance, that they may have walked on two legs and dragged their tails because they have such short arms. So that, again, at the time, you talk to any paleontologist, well, most paleontologists back then, they would say, yeah, this is absolutely correct. One guy even just, they hopped like kangaroos. It was really, you know, we weren't sure because I'm going to point out to you that we have the age of Google and other companies. We can look up anything on our phones. When these things were first discovered, there was something like them. You know, what walks on two legs today? Well, ostriches, with birds, humans, and kangaroos hop. So for early paleontologists, you're like, well, what kind of... And this is a time where in the 1800s, people were exploring the world and finding these things that we consider like old news. Like an ostrich to you and I, it's like, oh, those big birds. But when people from, particularly from Europe, obviously Africans knew ostriches, but people first saw them, they're like, these giant birds are like 6 feet tall, you know? So just in a time where they're exploring and finding these animals out that are in our current world, they're also finding these prehistoric critters, and they're thinking, well, what is this like? How does it operate, right? So these guys, again, are great because, first and foremost, well, you can't quite see the number of fingers and toes. I'm looking at this, and I can count maybe 4 fingers and 5 toes. They do have, visually, you will be able to see on the hand. I'll go over with these guys. Anyway, so the Marx figures, early, collectibles, special, appreciate them. The next thing I want to point out with this guy is this one here. This is my first Plateosaurus model. Honestly, back in my day, before Amazon and eBay, we had to go to these things called the malls, and they were like it was like if Amazon was a place. And you would walk in, and instead of swiping up and down and clicking, you would walk from store to store. I know, kids, for those of you who were born after the year 2000, crazy, but trust me, it was really cool. The exploration, I think that's why I'm a paleontologist. I like going out and finding things. Anyway, so I was actually, as a kid, I was looking for, this is a store called the Store of Knowledge, and I was looking for, I saw these guys, and I thought they were compies, like Jurassic Park Compsognathus. I'm like, oh, but they look kind of like they're like fat compies. They're really thick, and they have like 5 fingers instead of 2, and they're like, oh, they're pladiosaurs, right? You know, and so the main thing I would point out is that it has 5 fingers and it has 3 toes. That's kind of a consistent thing. But again, this one is, given its size and price point, I think it was like $1 or 2 back then, which is, you know, I know today, like, you can't buy anything for $1. Back then you could, and it was and I bought 2 of them because I was a broke kid. I didn't have a job, so that my parents' money was for bigger toys, right? So the idea here is that this one overall, what I like about it is it shows you, it fills it out more. Again, the Marx figures are based on their knowledge. You know, at that time these are good, but by the time we get to the 90s, we're like, okay, it's an herbivore. It's going to be a thicker animal, right? The ones you can see better are these guys here. I believe it's called Imperial, right? The company. It's not labeled here, but these are eBay purchases for me. I didn't get them as a kid. Yeah, 1991. And so the hand, what I do like about the hand, what I do like and I don't like. What I do like is they have all 5 digits. I also like the fact that the first toe, now it's not a thumb. Dinosaurs do not have thumbs, but the first toe, digit is always a little different than the others. Like, it's not that they have like this kind of they're not raptors or anything, allosaurs, but there is still a bit difference. And there's the 2 main ones that are pretty big. What they didn't do probably as well is that, but they did do it pretty good actually. But these last 2 fingers should be smaller, like way smaller. But again, it's not terrible as far as the foot goes, and they actually do it pretty well. So on the foot, so for humans we have a flat foot, and our toe is really huge. For many dinosaur groups, the middle 3 toes are the ones that they're walking on, they're pressure on, right? And so the idea is that the first one is it's kind of like it still touches the ground a little bit. This one, it's a full toe, so that is something that I would not. It should be a little smaller, but on the side here, they have this little nubbin here, a dew claw, and what we consider a pinky or a pinky toe on a foot. That was very, very tiny like this, and whether it was a claw or not, I can't remember seeing a claw in the paper. I mean, they found many of these guys in like Germany and Belgium and in parts of Europe, other parts of Europe, and they I found a lot of them that are like, you don't find, you find them that are stuck in the mud basically, and so you find a lot of the skeleton there. One of the most well-known dinosaurs of Europe, because you find so many of them and I put them together kind of thing. Not iguanodon levels, but neat, close, right? And so that little slide right there, this is actually really good. This is someone with a scientific background helped make this figure. Same thing to say with this guy here. Let's see. Same year, just a repaint. And again, as a kid, I was a sucker for repaints because for me, I used them as sexual dimorphisms, showing that one was a male or female, depending on the species. And I would watch this. If you want full disclosure, when I was a kid, we would watch a thing called Discovery Channel. And back then, Discovery Channel didn't make like cars and stuff and have reality TV. Back then, it was like actual documentaries. And so the idea here was, I would read all the dinosaur books. And they would explain as much as they could, and then I'd watch Discovery Channel and see what modern animals would do, and I would try to apply that to the missing gaps of what the paleontology books did not know. So that's why I would have these 2. Now, as far as scientific accuracy, as it starts to hone in, this guy here, 1994, this is 91, this is 94, Safari. This guy was, I remember I bought 4 of these. I was like, finally, because I didn't have these yet. I had the babies, little bitty ones. So like, finally I can have a herd. And so, as far as the hand goes, again, it essentially copies this guy's overall form. The difference is the head is very flat. Now the name Plateosaurus means flat lizard, like plate flat, and so they never described exactly what part was flat. The skull's pretty flat. The hands have a certain, but The main thing to point out is that it has the same kind of like dew claw here. This toe has been brought in. So again, this is somebody who looked at the paper, looked at the skeleton, and knew what they were talking about. Uh, More so than this one. This one has like the three main toes. Like this is like a perfect foot, especially for the time. And the hands again are like this. So they keep their hands like the predators, and they're not walking flat on them. They're like this. And so this one again, as far as like vintage, because next year this will be a 30-year-old figure. My goodness. So the idea is that this is a really really good model in that sense. The next one, interesting enough, this one here is a Bully Land. There's no name, there's no year on here. It's 1/20th of scale. Yeah, right. There's no year on this, but I know it was like in the 2000s or later 90s. And so what makes this now timestamp me here, I guess, because I use this model as the icon for Plesiosaurus on my website, because at the time it was the newest model. When you see it, it's walking on four legs, and many like the Hadrosaurus, the duckbills later on, they can walk on four legs and run on two legs, we believe. The Plateosaurus and other Plateosaurids, early sauropods, basal sauropods, these guys are often depicted of doing that because the mindset was something like this is what led to Apatosaurus or led to Brachiosaurus, right? And so even in Walking with Dinosaurs, which I will get that, well, I'll do it now. So Walking with Dinosaurs, you have the late Triassic North America, which is West Texas, Arizona, Mexico, that region. You have Placerus, you have your Postosuchus, not to scale, your Coelophysis, not to scale, your Rudiodon or Phytosaur, way not to scale, is Dinosuchus. These guys are here. And at the end of Walking with Dinosaurs, that chapter, a bunch of Plesiosaurs walk in, and they're like, dinosaurs are the future. We're going into the Jurassic and bigger animals. Plesiosaurus was not found in North America, it was found in Europe. Now, with that being said, I understand it was more of a symbolic thing of like, sauropods are coming. I get that. And to be fair, it was the late Triassic and Pangea was together, so technically Plesiosaurus could have walked to Arizona, but the idea is that there's no proof of that, so I want to make sure I make that clear. And so, anyway, that being said, let's see. My father always says that being said, and he moves on. My wife pointed out to me at our last family gathering. So this guy walking on all four, their hands can't turn like this to walk like this. So this is kind of inaccurate. Now they did give the actual, this arm, this hand here, kind of the right kind of twist, but it's like walking on this one. And so because, again, the arms are half the size of the legs, which you can't see that here because they actually either shrunk the legs or enlarged the arms to make it do this as far as the figure goes. That's not as accurate anymore, which I'm getting to the point of this story. And then we have these two. Now, I've referenced this before. You go to the store, the party store, like the dollar store, kid supplies, like that, right? And you buy a pack of dinosaurs, and I'm excited and surprised that amongst the T-Rex, the Triceratops, the Dimetrodon, you have Plesiosaurus. And so, again, it's a testament to this is an older dinosaur. Older, not just in time period, but like we as people knew about Plesiosaurus earlier than most. And so, for example, when you get those little tin pack of toys, you usually don't find a Carnotaurus in it because it's a newer species. But with Plesiosaurus, it's an older species, and people kind of know it, they've seen it, they don't know what it is, because it confuses people because there's an assumption I've come across in my experience that if it's on two legs and it's a dinosaur, it eats meat, and if it's on four legs, it eats plants, which is not true because Hadrosaurus run on two legs. So the Plesiosaurus, they can walk on two legs. But that's something that people, I've realized they're confused about that. It's like, no, that's not a rule anywhere. It's just that if you are on four legs, you're obligate quadruped, you have to be on all four. Usually you're heavier, because you're eating and grazing, but plants, you have a bigger gut and all that. But that's not a rule anywhere. It's just something people kind of observe and kind of say, oh, it must be this, which is not science. So anyway, so these guys have 5 fingers and 3 toes. Let's say 3 toes. I want to say 5 fingers, 3 toes. So that's kind of a consistent thing because, again, there's 3 weight-bearing toes and other 2 are kind of like smaller. So I get on this size, you may not be able to do a dew claw. I mean, definitely You can't do the tiny one on the side, but you can at least kind of make the inner one smaller. But whatever. You know, again, this guy has been the gold standard up until recently. And so I now bring you to my newest Plateosaurus, which is one that I just received last week. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the stand and look at the feet. Very good. I'm sorry. I mean, I should tell you, I'm sitting here, I didn't really look at it. When you're traveling, you don't have a chance to like look at your stuff when you're buying it. But I'm looking at it and like, oh, this is very nice, very good. You should hear, you should see this. You know. So the idea is that first and foremost, the 3 toes for load bearing are right there. The inner or first toe is smaller. So again, it's been argued that the 3 toes are there and that this first toe can touch the ground, but it's not on the ground. It's just that it can like leave a print, you know. And then the outer toe, oh, this is beautiful. The outer toe is right there, this little dewclaw. Now again, that one is really small, it's really tiny. It would not touch the ground, when, you know. So this is really, the feet are great. The hands are also awesome. These are great. So normally when I buy figures, I examine them more first. But in the particular gift shop I was in, the Wyoming Dinosaur Center, they how do I say this? They didn't have a lot of figures this time, so I just like, oh, that's new, I don't have it, grab it. And so the hand has your 3 major, this should be longer, bigger fingers or claws, and these guys are smaller like that, so that's really great. And then of course the head, Plateosaurus has a weird face, so like, you know, I mean, obviously, an animal's face is designed or adapted or evolved to meet its feeding needs usually, or how to get food, or, you know. And so there has been a new suggestion in the paper that these basal sauropodomorphs, not prosauropods, may not be entirely herbivorous. That looking at where their mouths are designed, or they chew, they bite, where their teeth look, that they could possibly eat some. I wouldn't say just like they're not carnivores chasing down other animals, but they would probably kind of supplement their diet with other things. So occasionally you might see a horse or a cow or something like licking at a dead animal, or the famous horrible video of a cow eating a baby chick. They're trying to get some kind of like minerals and nutrients, but they're not carnivores per se, but they're not strictly herbivores. And so that's one thing to say with that. But with the face, of course, is very flat, very small, very neat. I love it. Everything about this figure is great. If you are looking to buy accurate models, I would say this is like your top tier Jurassic Days approved. Who are they? Who are you? Sorry. Collect a 2000 and what? The 2011? It's been out for like over a decade. How did I miss you? Well, to be fair, I'm not a like big, huge like Plateosaurus person, but you know, as I'm a Brachiosaurus person, clearly they're behind me, they're up there, there's more over there. But the idea is that this is the most accurate Plateosaurus model. Collect a 2011, in my opinion, here. And if you can't find this one, get the Plateosaurus 1994 Carnegie. But again, out of the two, this is the most accurate. And then I'll say, like, this is, if there was an award ceremony, I would put the crown Miss Late Jurassic on this one, and you were a silver medal runner-up, right? Again, does that mean that these guys are not interesting? Are they not important? No, they're super awesome animals. They should be appreciated. That's why I have them. Believe it or not, I know you look at the toys behind me, and the fact that I tell you there's more over there and over there. I do not buy things. There are some things that I don't think are accurate enough, or they're just horrific, and I say I can't put money towards this thing. So even though the ones I have here are not always accurate, they are still worthy of either showing you or looking. You know, I keep that in mind as when I'm buying and collecting. But officially, I want you to point out that again, this is the bee's knees, as we would say in the last century, children. Now, as far as family goes, like I said, hopefully by the time the video goes up, I will have updated my website. That's a picture of this guy and more information about sauropodomorphs. But they're cousins, and I had trouble saying his name, so forgive me. This is the, what? Upside down? No. This is the Collect A 2. It's Luffingosaurus, 2010 Collect A. So this is a sauropod found, basal sauropodomorph found in Greenland and other places. Same hands. Very, very nice. I like that. This is really good. Very, very good model too. I only have the one of this, so I don't anticipate seeing a video anytime soon. But just looking at it overall, it has the right proportions of everything. The only Massospondylus, this is a sauropod morph that was described by Richard Owen himself. My goodness, so it's one of the earliest one too. And so this is a Jurassic World model of it, and I think I did a video. If I didn't, probably I don't know. I thought I did. I should check before I talk about this. But again, these guys are its closest relatives, and you can kind of get an idea of what this is. Jurassic though, early Jurassic, and so you get an idea that the look of the family. As I mentioned, it didn't live in North America, but it would have lived with who were its predators? Good question, kids. So we have here, my first one is a 1/20th scale Bullyland, made in Germany, Lilian sternus. So yeah, there's no year in here, but Lilian sternus is essentially, it's for the casual observer, it's like the Europe's answer to Coelophysis. They're obviously relatives, close relatives. Some say same species, depending on which paper you read. A newer model of Lilian sternus is the Collect A 2011. So these two came out the same year. So these guys, if again, I know no one cares but me apparently, but if you're doing a diorama of animals from the same time and same place, Lilian sternus and Plateosaurus, late Triassic, in this situation, these guys are together. You want to have these are the same year, so that's like a nice, like you can see they're even matching in color because they're in the same environment. I don't know. So that's what you're looking at with Plateosaurus. I hope you appreciate it. Thank you, Jim, again for your support. And I want to say I'll see you next week. I went on a dig this recently from Wyoming, and I just got back, and I'm very tired still. If I'm not as energetic as I normally am, I'm always tired, but I'm super tired now because of driving. But because my birthday was recently, I have been buying, actually no, I and my wife more, has been buying a lot of figures for me, so my next video will be me opening figures that I've already have reviewed the species, but I want to show you these new figures from Jurassic World and some of their counterparts. Anyway, that being said, I'll see you guys later, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next week.